comic guru, and to celebrate Batman v Superman coming out this week, I'll be doing 3 collection videos. Part 1 and Part 2 are already out. Part 1 was my Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher Batman collection. Part 2 was the Chris Nolan collection. And if you actually been following me on YouTube, you know I did a 2-part comics rant on Wonder Woman. Part 1 being her comic book history, Part 2 being her movie and TV history. This is all about Superman and a few extra hidden gems in here and one thing I forgot in my Batman video. But stay tuned, guys. I'll be right back. Peace. I love Superman. Alright guys, this is my part 1. Well, let me rephrase that. I'm going to do this all in one video. This is going to be my Richard Donner, Dick Lester, every Superman movie that I have, I'm going to do in one clean swoop. So let's start off with my Superman movies. I have, obviously, Superman has a long history. One of the things about Superman that I do like is the fact that he has so many different iterations of the character. You have George Reeves' version, Christopher Reeves' version, Brandon Routh's version, Henry Cavill's version. You even have Tom Welling's version. So you have a lot of different versions out there. Okay, as you can see here, I have both DVD and Blu-ray versions of the first 4 Superman movies, I should say. Now, when I say the first 4, I don't have the black and white ones that had, I forgot the first Superman's name. I know his first name was Kyle, I can't remember the last name, and George Reeves obviously did his version as well before he went to do The Adventures of Superman. I don't have that yet. I do want it. There's a ton of stuff I want. I'm going to tag that at the end of this like I did with my Batman collection videos. Hopefully you guys saw that. I'll put a link down below for that. That's a 2-part video. First part was Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher. Second part was Chris Nolan. But let's get back into Superman. Now, the whole reason why we got these movies here before you are because of Alexander and Ilya Salkind thought Superman had some merit, had something worthwhile, and they had not touched on Superman for a long time. He was really considered a boring character, too much of a Boy Scout, and they ended up getting together with Richard Donner, who actually got the call while he was sitting on a crapper. He's taking a shit, and he got the call saying they would give him $1 million to direct Superman. The only catch was he had to do Superman 1 and 2 simultaneously. Now, that was a tumultuous relationship that these guys had because Ilya and Alexander Salkind really wanted to stick their hands in everything, and Dick Donner really wanted them to just get the hell out of here and let them film it. Now, this first one introduced the world to Christopher Reeves. He had done some little things here and there, but this really put him on the map. Then you ended up getting Gene Hackman and Marlon Brando for star power because Christopher Reeve, being an unknown, really couldn't draw people in. They figured at that time big name stars were going to get him in there. So they got Gene Hackman, and then they got Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando got paid $1 million for what he did. Unlike Dick Donner, Marlon Brando only had to work a few days. There's a lot of interviews of Marlon Brando on YouTube talking about it. Actually, it's on on both of these box sets about how he ended up getting that $1 million and what it took to get it, which really wasn't much. Now you also have Glenn Ford playing Paul. And I forgot the actress that played Ma. So who is that actress? Hit me down below in the comment section. Let me know who that is. But, Jackie Cooper as Perry White. Margot Kidder really getting her feet wet as Lois Lane. Much like Christopher Reeve, she wasn't really well known. Terrence Stamp getting introduced in this movie as Zod. As well as Susanna York playing Ursula. They'll be back in the second movie. But they had a real quick intro in this, which set the tones for the second film. Now you also have Mark McClure coming in as Jimmy Olsen, and I love all these people. Ned Beatty as Otis, Valerie Perrine as Miss Tessmacher. Dick Donner just, to me, made the perfect movie. I saw this movie not in the theaters. I was too young. I was like 5 when the movie came out, maybe 6, and I just didn't get a chance to see it in the theater. Now, back in the 80s, bear with me people, on Sundays and Monday nights, when there wasn't any football on, they used to show movies. It wasn't all these, different TV shows on every day of the week. The weekends were really meant for reruns and movies. And ABC used to have this thing called the ABC Sunday or Monday night movie. What they did was they actually created a two-night event on Superman. Superman the movie was actually put on 2 nights, and as a kid, my bedtime was 8 o'clock. I had to be in, or 9 o'clock, sorry. This came on at 8 o'clock, and it was on for 2 hours each night. I remember I didn't even argue with my mom. I didn't, I was like, you know what, I'll see what I can, I'll catch it at another time. I'm disappointed, but as I got up to go to bed, my mom's like, no, it's okay. You can actually watch it all, which just made me love that woman so much more and has made Superman the movie my favorite superhero film of all time. And the reason for it is, Dick Donner did something unique. He created this into a 3-act play. Think about it. You had Krypton, which was more Shakespearean, very regal. You had Smallville, which was very wholesome, very Norman Rockwell-ish. Cornfields Forever, apple pie on the ceiling, or on the ceiling, on the windowsill. Then you get to Metropolis, and it's just like a vaudeville. Everything's rushed, everything's played for comedic laughs. Definitely gives you different tones for it. And Christopher Reeve played the perfect Clark Kent Superman. He actually embodied what they were really hoping to get out of this. Now, with these, you had Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster, who created Superman, and they, unfortunately, sold the rights to Superman when they first came in Action Comics #1. They sold the rights to Superman to DC Comics, so unfortunately, they didn't own the rights to it. So they weren't making any money off this. So they weren't exactly the most thrilled people to see this movie get made because they knew they weren't going to get any money for it. They worked for years to get Superman out to the public, and when they finally do, it basically screwed them because they really didn't get anything. It actually took decades later, with the help of Neil Adams and other artists, to really get these guys a byline on there, much like what Bob Kane has. Look at any Superman comic, somewhere on that first page will say created by Jerry Siegel and Joel Shuster. But back to the films. That first film, Lex Luthor was too comedic for me, but I really enjoyed this film. It just resonated with me. When I watched this film, I become a kid again. But going into the next one is Superman 2, which, remember I said that Dick Donner had a really tumultuous relationship with Saul Kimes? Well, he was filming both Superman 1 and 2 back to back. So he was filming all the Daily Planet stuff at once, all Fortress of Solitude stuff at once, and it was wearing on him. I mean, everyone could see just how tired he was, but he was such a professional that he actually used the energy of everyone else to keep that production going. And no one who wasn't really in the know saw how strenuous this was on him, because the man had no days off. Now, when Superman the movie came out, it was huge. Their tagline was, "You won't believe a man can fly," and you did. But they just didn't get along. The Saul Kimes didn't get along with Dick Donner, so they got rid of him and brought in Richard Lester, who had done the Three Musketeers, to come in, and he added a little bit more action, a little bit more comedy into it. Obviously, all the Metropolis stuff was more comedic, but you could see Dick Donner's hand all over this, which is why I'm glad in both of these collections you have the Dick Donner or Richard Donner cut. It has a lot of stuff from auditions added into it, so you really get to see how he wanted the film to be made. But this also brought back, get Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Jackie Cooper as Perry White, Terrence Stamp as the Incredible Zod, before Zod, Susanna York as Ursula. I can't remember the guy who didn't speak, so if you know what his name is, please hit that down there for me. E.G. Marshall playing the president, Mark McClure coming back as Jimmy Olsen, Ned Beatty coming back as Otis, Valerie Perrine as the voluptuous Miss Tessmacher. And one thing I didn't mention with the first Superman movie is the music. John Williams' music is so iconic that you really miss it when you don't hear it in a Superman movie. And I think the Man of Steel movie is the only one that doesn't have the John Williams theme in it. I could be wrong. If I am, please let me know. I hope it's in there somewhere. But then in 1983, we get the crap, the beginning of the crap. You get Superman 3. This movie should have been so great, but it wasn't. It was just, this shows you what happens if Richard Lester does a film by himself. Because remember, Dick Donner pretty much did 2/3, if probably half of Superman 2. But again, Chris Reeves comes back as Clark Kent Superman, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Mark McClure as Jimmy Olsen, Jackie Cooper as Perry White, Ned Beatty as Otis, Valerie Perrine as Miss Tessmacher, but you get new characters in here too. You get Richard Pryor coming in here, which the minute I heard Richard Pryor was coming into it, I knew it wasn't going to be good. I love Richard Pryor to death, but he does not belong in the Superman film, and he didn't know what the hell was going on in that film. Robert Vaughn was in here playing basically the main bad guy. Honestly, these next two films, I don't know the names of all the characters because I've only seen these movies probably 2 to 3 times, and they're horrible. But you also get Annette O'Toole, which is the best part of this thing is Annette O'Toole coming in as Lana Lang. Now, if you guys watch TV and you watch the CW, you know that she was on Smallville playing what character? Hold on, it's going to be coming out later in this video. But I love Annette O'Toole. 2 films I remember her from specifically is this and Cat People. I know it's weird, but really love that. It was really good. Again, you get to John Williams music, so that's the best thing out of it. You know, the music. Then you get Superman for the Quest for Peace. 1987 will never be the same again. I'm not going to go through all the people who are coming back into it. You already know who they all are. All the main characters are back. They introduced John Cryer as Lex Luthor's nephew. What? And then John Wanamaker played the main bad guy. You finally get another superpowered person in here, and I don't know. I can't remember his name. This was horrible. But you get 2 superpowered beings fighting each other, and you get this garbage. Really? Now, I can't remember if it's Superman 3 or Superman 4 where he becomes the bad Superman, goes to the bar, drinking down whiskey in the middle of the afternoon, and gets a 5 o'clock shadow, so costume's a little darker, so that's the bad Superman. I do admit, if you just watch the segment by itself, the Christopher Reeves and the fight that he has with himself is pretty awesome. I do admit that. Now, this was directed by Sidney Furie. Never heard of him. Don't know if he's done anything since then. And that's where we're going to leave this part off on here. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. There's one other thing I want to show you guys, just to show you just how much of a collector I am. Yep, I actually bought these. Being a collector, I got Supergirl the movie. This came out in 1984, so right after Superman 3, a year after Superman 3, and right before the Quest for Peace. You get this one where you get Helen Slater as Supergirl, you know, playing Linda Danvers. It was just terrible from the beginning to end. And with all these big name stars, you think this would be awesome. You got Peter O'Toole, Mark McClure coming back as Jimmy Olsen, so you have that connection to the Superman films. Faye Dunaway, Brenda Vaccaro, Peter Cook, Mia Farrow, and Ilya and Alexander Sondheim produced this. They were on board. They wanted to do this. They wanted to broaden the Superman world, and they really did a horrible job. This was actually directed by Jeannot Savoir. I'll put it down below so you can see who it is. But I've never heard of this person before or since, so that shows you just how bad this was. I paid to see this film when it came out. Me and my brother went to see this because we were superhero fanatics, and we paid for it. But you can see that these 2 are versions that I have, both for DVDs. There's another one out that's a little bit more expensive, and I ain't buying it because it ain't worth it. But as you can see, I do have the 14 DVD disc of the Ultimate Collector's Edition of Superman. This has Superman 1 through 4. This has Superman Returns. This has 2 documentaries. It has a vintage comic book, a reproduction of a vintage comic book. Plus, it has a mail-in rebate for 5 movie posters, which by now we know is just gone. And all the special features that you had in all the individual Superman DVDs that were out at that time. I got lucky and I got this piece right here, which is a Superman motion picture anthology, 1978 to 2006. This is basically everything that's in the DVD, but in a Blu-ray format. Exact same. I think the special features might be on Blu-ray. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but these 2 are fantastic. I really do like the DVD one better because there actually is, I'll show you it back here. This back there gives you a lenticular cover when you open it up, and then when you move it, Superman flies. I will be doing a unboxing of all this stuff eventually. I got a lot of stuff I have to go through, so I got a lot more stuff to show you here too. So when I come back, we're gonna go to Superman Returns.